Last week Bob had some real problem with it. I don't know why.
I'm gonna give,
It was maybe this was.
I tested that one, it works.
Yeah.
Three for 1 minute warning.
Okay.
I thought you were pouring water into the chalice. All right. Jackie, I'll ring the bell when you're ready. We're kind of getting a late start today. You guys need to turn the light on.
I get home,
Please.
the next morning,
Oh, dear.
much better.
I thought that your cello, yours a t-shirt.
Well, I never wear a dress shirt, but I do love it. This
Yeah, because they're so soft.
they never make these things hard enough to know.
No, that's not a good combination.
Debbie, is this your one or was there?
No, well, there was one here.
Is that the one?
I think that's yours. The cold one is yours.
That's my record, okay.
Oh, I do a prelude first, right? What was that?
Good morning. Welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is Sunday, March 19th, 2023. My name is Deb Harris, and I will be your worship associate today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. It's wonderful to see you all here today on this sort of wintry, cloudy day. And it's wonderful to see our visitors who are with us on YouTube also. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, you can go to the website at tcuuc.org and note that there's an email link that you can request our online newsletter. And now, if you haven't already done so, if you'll silence your cell phones. We do have a few visitors, and if you're comfortable, we invite you to come up and to the microphone here, introduce yourselves. Well, I guess one of you will be speaking. And just give us your names and tell us a little about yourself.
Good morning. I'm Lance, and this is my son Hunter, and we're visiting this morning, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate how warm and welcoming you've all been so far.
Oh, well, welcome. We're glad you're here. We hope you'll be here when the little one is, running around. So.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Joshua Moore. I am Barney's son. Live in Hollywood, currently living in New York, so I'm down for spring break, kind of. I know I'm taking vacation in visiting my family and wanted to make a point to come visit the church because my mom speaks so highly of the community here. So I thank you for having me.
Yay! Anyone else? All right, well, we're glad you're all here. There are a number of church-related announcements and activities going on. You can see the printed order of service or the newsletter for more specific details, but I'll give you just a quick reminder of a few things. The book club, facilitated by John Morn, meets on Wednesday from 11 to 12. See him if you want more info. Also on Wednesday at noon is the men's lunch at the Key West Diner. And coming up next Sunday, March 26th, is the annual meeting, which will be held after the service. That seems an important thing to be here for. And one other announcement. Yesterday we had a fabulous gathering for the wedding of Debbie and Elliot. And it was so joyful to be part of their experience. And there was a video taken, but the sound went out, as those of you who were here know, the sound went out prior to the vows. So after the service, before going in for snacks and coffee, Karina is going to run the video. And you can see the whole service if you'd like to just stay in here and you'll be able to watch. So that might be fun if you weren't able to attend. And finally, of course, there's the Brown Bag Lunch on the first and third Tuesdays in Stewart Veterans Memorial Park downtown. We want to thank all of those who helped with today's service, our musicians, Jackie Robbins on cello, and Judy Bajoris on piano. I'd like to also say that Judy played the wedding march and the music at the service yesterday and did a fabulous job. We thank our greeters, our host, Karina Poloni. We couldn't do the service without her. Our tech support, Rachel Valentino. We thank Joanne Leone and Marguerite Gregory for the coffee and the cookies and the goodies we'll share after the service. The Reverend John Brown III is our guest in the pulpit. Reverend John began his ministry in 1964 and has served churches in Kentucky, New York, and Connecticut before becoming a ministerial affiliate at the Vero Beach UU congregation, and he facilitates groups and preaches there. And also, we can add ourselves to his list of places he helps out at. We're happy always to have him here, and we're always uplifted by his wise and thoughtful sermons. You may have seen in the bulletin that he will be talking today about hope, something we need more of in these stressful times. Jane Goodall, I'll make a plug for her book, The Book of Hope. She says that hope is not simply an emotion or a skill, but a powerful human survival trait, so important that without hope, we as a people will perish. So Reverend John is going to help us think more about hope and how to find it. And now, we'll enjoy our prelude. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And now our chalice lighting words. Reverend John will light our chalice. These are from Atticus Palmer. We call this light before us in hope that we may always remain a strong community, working together to make the world a better place. When we are grieving or sad, when we are challenged, when we need help, this flame guides us out of the darkness. When we are cheerful, when we celebrate, when we accomplish a great task, when we return to a place that makes us happy, the chalice reminds us to share our hope and happiness with others. Today's opening words are entitled, "It's Good to Be Together," by Alison Wohler. I chose these words initially because of the title. It captured how I was feeling about our congregation, based on the wonderful evening we had with John Morn and the Stubborn You-Know-Whats. And also over the last few days, some of us had gathered to prepare Heston Hall for the wedding of our office administrator. And a larger group gathered yesterday to celebrate with Debbie and Elliot. The caring and the generosity of TCUUC members restores my belief in the goodness of people and makes me think of how good it is for us to be together. So with that, I'll read the words. With thankful hearts, we've come together this morning to celebrate the bounty of the day, to bask in the warmth of this community, to share with friends the tides of our lives, to entertain perennially our hopes for a better future. We join together this morning, as always, to resist injustice and inequality wherever they may be found. Our hearts are touched by the human need we feel around us, whether far away or within reach of our hand. We come here to be together because this is how we believe our lives are best lived, in questioning and in conversation, in compassion and in service, in gratitude and in joy, in companionship and in love. It's good to be together with you this morning. And now we have our first hymn. You may stand if you like or sit and sing hymn 95, "There is More Love Somewhere." And we have a special song leader today.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. there is more joy somewhere. Remain standing for the affirmation. Yes? No? Go ahead.
We'll speak the first verse and sing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Now be seated. The theme for our service is that of hope. Hope is a challenge, I believe, in this day and time with so much divisiveness within our country, with so many moments of anxiety, particularly with the banking industry, or with our lives, with the economics. Yes, hope is so important. But we are not really islands separate from life, but we are within a web. We are interconnected. We belong to the earth, and all things are connected like the blood which unites one family. We are together. I find in my 78 years of existence that I find it so wonderful to remember that I have some insights, but when I'm stuck sometimes, it's good to turn to other people, and particularly to a community of faith, for some direction and input. It was Teresa of Avila, who lived from 1515 to 1582, who was a Spanish Carmelite nun, prominent Spanish mystic and religious reformer, who became really the central figure of a movement of spiritual monastic renewal, who teaches us how to live the human adventure with zest and with enthusiasm. She was in love with every dimension of life, with people and places, music, laughter, and celebration, with nature and its abundance. She urges us to embrace nature because nature awakens us, and when we are awakened, hope, hopefully, is activated. She said spiritual life is like bees making honey, silkworms spinning their cocoons, fish swimming in a running stream. And when we instead clog our lives with triviality and endless distraction, she sees us bogged down in a swamp, struggling to get muddy water out of a puddle. And by focusing on events that are hopeful, we do not get bogged down, but we find some creative ways to handle some of the life circumstances we are faced with, to have zest, to have energy, to move forward in some effective and creative ways. So I believe if we're going to experience hope, we need to embrace life, not run away from life, not ignore life. We need to look into the unknown, believing that there is good and that the painful also will pass. I'd like you now to turn to page 550 or simply read the responsive reading on the wall, which reminds us that we belong to the earth. And we will do some antiphonal reading. I will read the opening chapter and you answer back. So 550. No? The earth. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know, all things are connected like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the land, we do to ourselves. Amen.
And now it's time for us to share personal joys and sorrows. If there's someone who'd like to come up and share a joy or a sorrow, please state your name and briefly tell us your joy or sorrow, and Janet will hand you a stone or move a stone for you.
Good morning. My name is Pam Corbin, and it was my pleasure to be on the food committee for the wedding yesterday. It was wonderful. It was integrated. It was, we had men on our committee. We worked under the leadership of Tia, who, there she is, Tia volunteered us. And as soon as it was announced that we were going to do the wedding of Debbie and Ellis, we couldn't jump into the situation fast enough. So those people who were on the wedding food committee, those people who brought stuff, including Roger Head, please stand and be recognized by your peers. Please stand. No, please stand. Please stand. It was basically a potluck. Thank you. And I also want to thank the people that left the kitchen so well labeled. It was easy to volunteer to do this job. Thank you all very much. And we had a great time.
Hi, I'm Linda Shuey, and many of you know that we've been assisting a family in Indiantown for about 15 months now, a mother and daughter who were separated at the border and have been reunited. And I'm happy to announce they were very isolated in Indiantown and were dependent on everyone else in their family to transport them places and to get the 3-year-old to daycare. And I knew they greatly need, in fact, the 10-year-old daughter told me, they need a car. And so I'm very happy to say that my family has donated a car to them. It's just a car. It's a 2010 Subaru, but it's a really good car. It was my grandson's car, and he's in the Navy now. And so I'm very grateful to my son-in-law and my daughter because they just gave it to him. And they reminded us that many, many, many years ago, actually the grandparents helped him buy it. We'd forgotten that. So I also want to thank John Cook very much. I didn't realize how much the registration and taxes were going to be. And when John said, I'll pay the registration and taxes, it was well over $300. So thank you, John. So we're real happy for the family. Thank you. Here's to all families. And to John.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Dembowski, and I have a sorrow. A very good friend of mine, husband died. It was a very sudden illness, a brain tumor, and they went home to where they lived in Midwest, and so he could be with family, and it took about a month, and it was just a shocker because he was on the younger side, and I'm just thinking about my friend.
Good morning. I'm Barney Miller Moore, and I just wanted to say how happy I am that in addition to the fur baby that we adopted 3 weeks ago, geez, he is an Alaskan Husky, and he weighs 63 pounds, so you should see us walking, him walking us, John and me. He's almost knocked us down a couple of times. But we get to have our actual grandchildren, the youngest ones, and they would come when we had the little people here. Our little people would come. So we're going to see how this works out with the fur baby and the real babies. So, and of course their dad. He's so humble. He wouldn't say he's actually a surgeon. He's Dr. Moore. So.
Well, with the theme of hope, it's only appropriate that I'm up here as the president of the board, and since Bob's not here to scold me about this, and as the chair of the Pledge Drive Committee, to urge you, if you have not already made your pledge, to please do so, because we have to wrap up our budget for next year, like tomorrow, Tuesday. And that'll be presented next Sunday at the annual business meeting. And at the risk of seeming kind of like a scold, this is true for you YouTubers as well. At the end of the day, we're a church, but we're a business. And so we have $100,000 a year that we need to raise roughly to keep the doors open. So please bear that in mind. We need your pledges. We are totally dependent on these things. And with that, I thank you, and I am hopeful.
Hi, I'm Jackie, and I have lots of joys and sorrows, but I'm just going to share one sorrow with you, which is that Gail McCarthy is back in the hospital, and I'm not even sure if it's Martin Memorial North or South, because I just got the message from one of her daughters on my drive over here. So if anyone's interested, you could just call Martin Memorial, and they'll tell you what room, but she's not in really great shape, so if you can't take, seeing someone deteriorate, then don't go. But otherwise, it's always a joy when I mention the Unitarian Universalist Church to her, and I'm bringing a bunch of Irish music over there next time I see her, which will be next couple days. I can't go there. They won't let me in at 2 in the morning, so.
And for those whose joys or sorrows are too private to share, know that our hearts are with you, and Janet will move a stone into our community river. We're now going to do Spirit of Life, and so we hum and then sing. And now we could make Bill very joyful with our generous morning offering. Tia and Pam will be passing the plate, and we invite you to share your generous donation. Thank you. It's easier to give when you sing at the same time, isn't it? So thank you. And now, a hopeful challenge.
When our news is disappointing and things look bleak, it is often difficult, to say the least, to stop and to enjoy humor, new discoveries, and this wonderful journey we have within our denomination called the Search for Meaning. And yet, if we succumb to the countless times of hopelessness, these feelings can sometimes lead to inaction, which only allows dark conditions to endure. Hope yet hope can light a fire in our behavior, and constructive change can happen when we are really in tune with and fully experience this profound word called hope. This experience adds to one's enjoyment of the here and now. In fact, hope adds to the pleasure of the possible despite the circumstances. You see, hope is a challenge to discover, to maintain. That's the challenge for us, to maintaining it, to understand it, to fully be in tune with it. The way we view life emotionally sometimes needs to change, especially when we are faced with a crisis. In the Chinese ideogram for the word crisis, it combines two word pictures. One represents danger, and the other represents opportunity. This past year, I felt extremely frightened at the possibility of war with Russia and or with China. Those fears are not completely over. This past summer, Russia said, quote, that the United States, the world's top military power, was directly involved in the conflict in Ukraine because U.S. spies were proving and coordinating Ukrainian missile strikes on Russian forces. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has triggered the most serious crisis in relations between Russia and the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, when many people feared the world was on the brink of nuclear war, end of quote. When the media continues to emphasize the possibility of war, the challenge is to not be caught up in really the anxiety that the media sometimes brings in regard to our future. We need to be patient. We need to seek hope and to be reactive to what we see and to what we fear and to hear, but not react too much to fear. In fact, be aware that it is a signal, it's a signpost. Do not react to it as such, but go below it. Hope, you see, is an important quality to help us through the many struggles we face in life. In the field of psychology, psychologists have proposed that grit, consciousness, self-efficacy, optimism, and passion can help us to experience momentary hope. Momentary hope. The vehicle I'm referring to is particularly undervalued and really underappreciated in psychology, in society, and unfortunately at times in our own lives. Hope that is lasting, that is deep and profound, is extremely important and vital for us in this day and time. It was Desmond Tutu who said, "Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness." So really, what is hope? Reverend Robert Hardy's of Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C. says his definition of religion is people telling stories of hope. That's people like you and me. It is a telling of stories that sustain us, that inspire us, stories that give us courage in difficult times. Often the human witnesses to hope pass on insights and lessons which are instructive for us. When was the last time you really heard some words of hope? Were they lessons for you? Did they instruct you? As religious people, it is helpful to listen to the stories of hope. And often those touching stories move us to change our attitude and how we view the world and ourselves. I remember in July of 2004 that President Obama, although it was Mr. Obama at that time, defined hope when he said, "I'm not talking about blind optimism here, the almost willful ignorance that thinks unemployment will go away if we just think about it, or health care crisis will solve itself if we just ignore it." That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something more substantial. It's the hope of slaves sitting around a fire singing freedom songs. The hope of immigrants setting out for distant shores. The hope of a young naval lieutenant bravely patrolling the Mekong Delta. The hope of a mill worker's son who dares to defy the odds. The hope of a skinny kid with a funny name who believes that America has a place for him as well. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty, the audacity of hope. In the end, that is a great gift to us, the bedrock of the nation. A belief in things not seen, a belief that there are better days yet ahead. His words still, even though they're 2004, apply to us this day. Is that the meaning of hope for you? Some of the words he described, where you have the strength to face the uncertainty? Is it the belief that the things not seen, where life offers you opportunities for a greater sense and awareness of happiness? In essence, that there is a better day yet ahead. As Unitarians, the search for meaning is certainly a central aspect of the journey we're on. And hope can be the light to show us a meaningful way to travel. It was Martin Luther who said these words: "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Hope is not a brand new concept, really, in contemporary psychology. In 1991, the eminent positive psychologist Charles Snyder and his colleagues came up with what is called the hope theory. According to their theory, hope consists of agency and pathways. And the person who has hope has the will and the determination that goals will be achieved, and a set of different strategies at their disposal to reach their goals. Put simply, hope involves the will to get there and different ways to get there. Hope is not just a feel-good emotion. It is a part of a system, a dynamic, cognitive, motivational system. Hope can lead to learning goals which facilitate growth and improvement. A bulk of research shows that learning goals are positively related to success across a wide swath of human life and academic achievements, to sports, to arts, to science, to business, certainly to religion. At times, we don't have hope. We just simply don't feel it for all kinds of chemical and psychological and interpersonal reasons. So what happens? We pursue what is called false hope. False hope brings me really to my second point. It is unfortunate, really unfortunate, that false hope is more prevalent in our psyche than that of no hope. In fact, false hope can sometimes be found in our community and in many families. Some people believe that false hope is worse than no hope at all. False hope is not constructed on a firm, dependable foundation. Individuals who have unrealistic expectations and overconfidence are often central to what is referred to as false hope syndrome. In fact, false hope can break many of our goals, and it doesn't matter if they are grand or simply very small. If you are affected by false hope, you tend to set unobtainable goals. Overpromising, for example, to your friend or boss, setting unattainable New Year's resolutions, miscalculating the time and effort needed to quit smoking or to watch your diet or improve your drawing skills. Consequently, misunderstanding the cause of your failure can lead to reattempting our unrealistic goals and continue with a cycle that goes on and on. The false hope syndrome model was developed suggesting that an individual affected by false hope tends to set unrealistic goals. And certainly false hope relates to an expectation that most likely will simply not be satisfied. This is likely to cause an individual to waste their resources and undoubtedly become disappointed. And disappointment can develop from familiar emotions. Allow me to share these qualities that really illustrate false hope. All of us are optimistic, right? At times. And optimism certainly feels good. It takes place when we are aware of the positive and the good in various people and in things. But if we're not careful, optimism can move to what is again referred to as false hope. Take, for example, the optimistic view that you will definitely win. You know, familiar, right? When I was much younger, I found a concept called magical thinking applied to my optimism. If I think positive and do good deeds, then great things will happen, such as winning the lottery. But I learned that magical thinking really was taking place. I was magically thinking that if I did this and this, then I would win the lottery. Well, I'd never won the lottery. But I learned that magical thinking is just that, and the likelihood of winning the lottery really can be based on positive thoughts and good deeds. Well, maybe that is the case, but the probability of winning is not high. That certainly was the case with me. Cognitive biases are another example of false hope. In this false hope, you can consider the winners in a situation. For example, if you read the biography of a famous basketball player who worked hard, trained, and rose to the top of his sport, one might believe that he or she can do the same. However, in estimating changes, one needs to consider the millions and millions of basketball players who worked hard, trained, and never achieved the same level of success. And now, let's look at my third point. We can analyze and try to look at and experience hope, but what are some ways of really being hopeful in our lives? When I define the word hope, I said that religious people tell stories of hope. When was the last time, though, you reviewed the stories in your life that demonstrated your success as a person of hope? And what did you learn? Lifting one's spirit is certainly a way of being hopeful. To be in dark places in life or remain in a state of hopelessness or depression is costly, downright discouraging. Bernice Johnson Reagan of the singing group Sweet Honey in the Rock talks about how songs lifted the spirits of civil rights marchers and workers during the 1950s and 60s. Reagan and her fellow marchers could feel the songs change, literally change, and I believe that took place, the atmosphere. The freedom songs built community, nurtured courage, and fostered hope. And certainly, music is a means of moving out of the doldrums and feeling energized and motivated. I mean, listen to the music we heard this morning. Familiar songs. And I wish you could have been up here to see some of your heads move and the spirit change because of the melodies and the rhythm. Well, Bernice found that music and a singing community helped to have hope. Reviewing our own stories of hopefulness is extremely important, therapeutic. I remember when I was in the 6th grade and I was told that my mother was going to have a major operation. And to me, that was very, very scary. I did not understand it. I didn't know about my mother leaving me to go into a hospital. And countless questions and emotions certainly came to my mind. You see, at that time, my father was ill with lateral multiple sclerosis. So I would be responsible if something happened to my mother, taking care of both of them, particularly if she became incapacitated. I remember sharing this with my school teacher, and her words were comforting and insightful for me. Her advice lifted my anxiety and set it aside, helping me to feel hopeful and to feel confident. Sharing with a special friend can be a positive and healing experience. But what else can we do? I'd like you now to be introduced to Shelley. And Shelley is going to tell her story, how she managed her cancer, and how she manages, although she doesn't use the word, hope in her life.
When I told my team of people at work that I had breast cancer, I didn't want to be treated differently, right? I didn't want, if I didn't feel good, if I was showing signs of weakness or something, then yeah, you know, maybe help me out, but I'm just gonna power through this. This is just who I am, and I don't want it to be the only topic of conversation, right? This is something I'm going through. This too shall pass. I will keep you informed, but don't tiptoe around me. Treat me like you normally would treat me. I didn't even get a pass on Christmas. I think I was told to bring this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, I can barely walk. I just had surgery. But, you know, it was just, my family was great. My husband was outstanding. My friends, my coworkers, I was really lucky. My church, everybody was so amazing. But I think that they will take their cue from you. If you are acting, if you're really sick from the treatment, and you want to be left alone, people will give you that space, and then it's kind of up to you to let them know when they can come back in. People will take their cue from you. If they see that you're acting a certain way or being a certain way, they'll mirror that. So I had a lot of people send me beautiful cards and do really nice things for me. I had friends that got together for bringing my husband and I meals, and it got to the point where we had so much food that I had to ask them to please stop doing that because my husband's gaining weight because he's eating like a pie every night. I had just outpourings of generosity. So you'll see the best part of people. The thing that I would caution anybody on is everybody wants to tell you their cancer story. My aunt had breast cancer and she died, but you'll be okay. I know you'll be okay. Those are things that I think people are so well intended and they are trying to find some common ground to have a conversation with you, but you don't really want to hear that. So don't Google it. Find a site where people are talking about being positive and positive outcomes because you need that, because you have to have your brain right. And I really think that positive attitude is going to get you through a lot of stuff. You can curl up into a ball and be a victim, and that's going to impact your outcome and how you feel about everything. So find your group that you can tell things to and have those people and carry on the best that you can, of course. But don't surround yourself with anybody that's negative. Don't let them in. Don't settle for vague answers. Don't, you know, even though the truth is hard to hear, at least then you can, the knowledge is something that you can use to prevent your brain from filling in the gaps, because your brain will fill in the gaps, and it's not pretty. So at least have the knowledge and just kind of live in the moment. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what their future holds. And there's some weird comfort in all of that. You know, you could be hit by a car. Anything can happen to anybody, anytime. So don't make yourself a victim in all of it. It's not going to help you to be a victim. It happens to people, and people are cured every single day. And so you just have to do it. When you're going through treatment, be nice to yourself. Do what makes you happy. If you know, you want to go do something and you feel up to it, just do it. I think people will try to tell you, oh, you should stay home or you should rest, but if you don't overdo it, but if you feel like you want to do something that gives you joy, then you should do it. Make yourself feel better. Be nice to yourself during this phase.
Every time I hear Shelley speak, I find wonderful lessons. I love the category she said, this too shall pass. And so often when we feel discouraged and we feel hopelessness, we sometimes need to remind ourselves that this too shall pass. The pain, the confusion, the darkness too shall pass. And by doing that category, by experiencing that, we're able to set aside some of those feelings of anxiety or tension and to bring more hope into our lives. She did her best to have a positive attitude. Perhaps another phrase might be to have a hopeful attitude to whatever life gives to you that's unexpected and that it's hurtful and difficulty. Above all, she turned to others, find a group. She turned to her family, her friends, her co-workers for support and nurturing. In many cases, often those around you have, again, new insights and helpful lessons to practice so as to find and maintain the challenge of hope. So please, be careful. Don't see the world as a dark and dangerous place 24/7. The world can be a better place, and let us certainly value the present, the tomorrows, and have faith that we can live in justice and harmony, love, and peace. And there is no doubt that our world will not be free of illness, suffering, or pain, but we can be supportive or nurturing of each other. And we need to do that, particularly in the life of this community. Therefore, it's important to have a realistic view of hope in coping with the challenge of simply being alive. I trust we experience the freedom of our faith, the faith that allows us to dream the dreams, a world where diversity is respected, the earth is cherished, religion is non-dogmatic, and peace is possible. It is a moral agenda and a commitment to justice. It is a vision we laugh and sing about, we debate, and sometimes even argue about, a vision we can only reach if we are together as a community. How could we ever let that go? There is a bit of the divine, or another way of saying, a bit of wholeness and holiness in this beautiful and broken world, and it is called hope. We each have it, and without finding it, we really cannot live. It is the essence of our faith. So let us trust that hope. Amen. May we turn to our closing hymn, 161, if you want to follow the melody in your hymn books or to follow it on the wall, 161. Be seated. Be mindful to stay afterwards if you'd like to see this outstanding, exciting wedding that took place yesterday. And keep in mind that our coffee hour is open to each and every one of you. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other and to the world and to our faith continues. And with the changes which occur in our lives, the ups and the downs, that trust and hope remain constant. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be true, be well, be patient, be hopeful, and be loving. Amen.
Yes, nothing is, there's no such thing as permanence, right? That's the Buddhism.
Karina is bringing the YouTube of the wedding up. It's slow. It's taking forever.
I should know.
But then these new people, no, that's part of the reason why I'm busy, because I just not it's just
Too much distraction, different expectations. Well, but I think I think these things, and then I think, well, I need to share that with the person I'm thinking about, And so you're getting out.
I am. I'm retiring May 1st. Yay.
Congratulations, retirement is awesome.
I know, I can hardly wait, although I'm scared to death about the money. But I figure I can get a break.
Right.
And I just want something.
Oh, I know. Oh,
I have to respond to emails. It's like, hey, this is what they write. Hey, you didn't grade my paper. Well, you turned it in 2 weeks later. And so, yesterday, and now you're saying I didn't. It was like, hey, you didn't grade my paper. When are you going to give me a grade?
these are college kids.
It's just stunning. It's stunning. It's depressing because they're going to be teachers. What are you going to do as a teacher? But then I think, who wants to be a teacher?
Especially in Florida. Also, well, there's that, and then Florida with censorship. That is very frightening. I find it difficult to find a hope for them with that. I'm just so fearful. Yes. And I'll bet you anything, I'm going off from them on this, I'll bet you there's a lot of ignorance in there. I bet they're not reading the books.
They don't read the books. No. We're going to do a little thing on censorship. Children's books in a couple.
Here?
Yeah, I'm going to do a thing.
Yay, because I'm just distraught.
Face each other and hold all your hands together. Before we go ahead, I feel kind of duty-bound to ask 2 things. If anyone here can show just cause why these 2 speak now or forever hold your peace. And the other thing, are you sure?
I think so, yeah.
Now, before your vows, I want to read these words that Debbie wrote leading up to the vows. Now, as I read this, remember the I is Debbie. Life has a way of surprising us, sometimes in ways more wonderful than we could have dreamed or imagined. I never imagined this day. I never dreamed of this future. But everything changed the day you walked into my life looking for a pot to plant your rubber tree. I will be forever grateful to that tree. I even have a place of honor where it can grow big and strong at our new home. I will be forever thankful that I was in the right place at the right time to help you find that pot. And most of all, I will be forever grateful for you. And now these are your vows in just a moment. First, you, Elliot. Looking into her eyes,
Yes.
repeating after me. I, Elliot, take you, Deborah, in marriage,
I, Elliot, take you, Deborah, in marriage,
to be no other than yourself.
to be no other than yourself.
I promise to trust and support you,
I promise to trust and support you,
to love you for who you are,
to love you for who you are,
and to accept who you might become.
and to accept who you might become.
I will listen to you openly,
I will listen to you openly,
communicate honestly,
communicate honestly,
and be present with an open mind.
and be present with an open mind.
I will celebrate our differences,
I will celebrate our differences,
nurture what we share,
nurture what we share,
and work to honor these promises for all the days of my life.
and work to honor these promises for all the days of our life.
Same thing, Debbie. I, Deborah, take you, Elliot,
I,
in
Deborah,
marriage,
take you, Elliot, in marriage,
to be no other than yourself.
to be no other than yourself.
I promise to trust and support you,
I promise to trust and support you,
to love you for who you are,
to love you for who you are,
to accept who you might become.
to accept who you might become.
I will listen to you openly,
I will listen to you openly,
communicate honestly,
communicate honestly,
and be present with an open mind.
and be present with an open mind.
I will celebrate our differences,
I will celebrate our differences,
nurture what we share,
nurture what we share,
and work to honor these promises for all the days of my life.
and work to honor these promises for all the days of our life.
And now will the ring girl bring the rings forward? Okay.
He said ring girl.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
Now you take the one for her, Elliot, place it on her finger and repeat after me as you look into her eyes. Deborah, with this ring I thee wed, my friend and my wife.
Wow. Deborah, with this ring, I do wed who's part of it?
My friend and my
My
wife.
friend and my wife.
Same thing on his. Elliot, with this ring I thee wed, my friend and my husband.
Elliot, with this ring, I thee wed, my friend and my husband.
Just put all your hands together. Our wish for you is peace and that elusive storybook ending, and they lived happily ever after. I pronounce you husband and wife, Deborah and Elliot. And now, the last part you remember.
Yeah, part's easy.
Yeah.